We're back again with another projector review. I think this is the fourth one that I did this week. This is a little special one because this is from Xgimi. This is the Xgimi Aura. So shout out to Xgimi for sending this over to me for review. Thank you guys for that. Let's go ahead and get this thing unboxed. This comes double boxed, but this is the inner box. Nicely packaged, nice dense foam. Inside here, we've got the remote control. Here's the power cord, and here's the projector. Yeah. Under the projector, we have all the instruction manuals. Ooh, look at that. Really nice. So, just by picking it up, it's pretty heavy. This weighs 32.9 pounds, so almost 33 pounds. Up top here, you can see that there is the laser, which is behind that. This is a 4K projector. It does use a DLP, a 0.47 DLP chip, so it's not natively a 4K projector. It does upscale to get to that 4K resolution. But up front is the Harman Kardon built-in sound bar, sound by Harman Kardon. It's got 4 15-watt speakers inside, so I'm expecting some pretty good audio. Around the sides, we've got your power button, USB, your ventilation. On the opposite side, we've got some more ventilation. On the back, you've got your HDMI 1, which supports ARC, second HDMI, third HDMI, USB 2.0, second USB 2.0, 3.5 auxiliary input, optical output, LAN connection, and service port. And that's where you plug in the power cord. On the bottom, we get some adjustable feet. So if you want to adjust this, you can level it off by turning the feet. So that's pretty cool. But this is rated at 2400 ANSI lumens of brightness. It does support Dolby Audio and DTS. And since this is an ultra short throw projector, you will get up to 25,000 hours of lamp life. This covers about 90% of Rec 709 and I think 80% of P3. So let's go ahead and get this thing hooked up in the theater, and I'll come back, give you some thoughts and impressions. I'm going to be using the Xgimi with a Revon 4K Blu-ray player for source, as well as the projector's inbuilt apps. I'll be projecting on a daylight gray 100-inch screen, which will help by enhancing black levels, and the projector is roughly 6 inches from the screen. To set the focus, you'll have to tap on the focus button on the remote and tap left or right to make the image sharp. One issue that I had with my unit is that if I got one of the upper corners crisp and sharp, the opposite corner would be way out of focus. So I had to meet it halfway to get the focus as close to each other as possible, which meant that the upper part of the screen was slightly softer than the bottom. You don't really notice it while watching content, but I think it's worth noting. This should look pretty familiar. This is the Android TV homepage. This is going to be where all of your apps reside, so you'll have all your collection of apps like Amazon Prime, YouTube, Google Play Movies and TV, and just some of their recommended stuff that they think that you're going to like. As far as like navigating through the menus, it's very quick actually. It's not as laggy as some other Android TV projectors that I've used recently, so that's always a good thing. But first off, let's go check out a few of the projector-centric settings. First option we have is brightness. Right out of the box, we're going to be on standard, which is fairly bright. But then we go over to bright, which bumps up the brightness a little bit more, but it also kicks on the fan, so you can hear the fan a little bit louder. Eye protection kind of brings everything down, makes everything a little bit more warmer looking for some late night viewing, so it's not so strenuous on your eyeballs. Performance bumps everything up to what I believe is the max brightness. Everything is a bit cooler looking, but also this mode makes the fan work a lot louder. And under custom, you can change the brightness settings here manually. Max brightness right now is at 10, and you can change the brightness level for your primary colors as well, and then you can rename it. I think most folks might stick with standard, but I'm going to just keep this on bright for now. Next up is keystone correction. You can do manual 8-point keystone correction, so let's just cycle through the different points here. You can bring it in, you can bring it out, move it up, move it down. Obviously, anybody familiar with keystone, digital keystoning, I would say skip this if at all possible, because you are kind of digitally manipulating the picture and you're kind of cutting away at pixels at that. So let's go ahead and just reset this. And if also you press the menu button, you can also go to 4-point correction. So you have a 4-point and an 8-point correction. And under keystone settings, you can just restore the keystone here if you want to go back to default. Of course, the best way to do this is to line up your projector with the screen so you do not have to use keystone correction. So only use that as a last resort. Next setting is projector placement. We've got front ceiling, rear, and rear ceiling. And then the last option we've got under others is HDMI control, HDMI auto power on, and then auto eye protection. You can turn this on or off. In case you happen to pass in front of the laser, it'll shut off so you don't accidentally blind yourself. Being a 4K projector, let's check out a few apps that should support 4K and HDR. First app being YouTube. Let's just scroll up, go over to More, and under the video quality settings, you can see it does indeed support 4K, 2160p, and HDR. So 4K HDR does work on the YouTube app. Let's back out of this, go back home, check out Voodoo. And unfortunately, this only seems to be working in standard definition, even though I did purchase this in HD. And a quick look, if you look in the upper right corner, it just says standard definition or SD, and it doesn't support Dolby Atmos or any other resolutions. So if you are a big fan of Voodoo, I would stick with an external streaming device like an Apple TV or a Fire Stick. Next up, let's check out Amazon Prime Video. So Amazon Prime Video does look to support UHD and HDR. Now there is not a display button to tell you that it's actually working in 4K or HDR, but if you hit the menu button on the remote control and you scroll down to image mode, you can go down to custom, scroll down to HDR, and you can turn that off, and you can see that the whole image does wash out, slightly more grayer looking. And then if we switch over to auto, then you can tell that the HDR is working. So 4K HDR does work on the Amazon Prime app. Next app is Disney Plus. This also looks like it supports 4K Ultra HD plus HDR10 and 5.1. And I can already tell that this is indeed 4K with HDR, but we'll just go down to the image mode one more time. Just check out to see if that HDR is working. I'm pretty sure it is. And you can tell that, in fact, it does work properly. Let's back out of this and go to Netflix. And I can tell you right now that Netflix does not work because this is not a certified Netflix device. Even though this here says 4K HDR and Atmos, it actually just doesn't work. If you do want to stream Netflix on this particular projector, you are going to have to use an external streaming device like an Amazon Fire Stick, NVIDIA Shield, or an Apple TV. Next thing we're going to check out is the Spears & Munsell UHD HDR benchmark disc. If you want, I'll leave some links down below in the video's description, and you can pick this up. It'll help you calibrate your TV set or projector. What I wanted to check out was the high dynamic range, the black levels basically. So this is going to be under advanced video, under dynamic range low. And right off the bat, you can see a little bit of shadow detail on the corner edges here, right in the center of the screen. But the top row, there should be some boxes that are flashing on and off. Unfortunately, you can't see much at all. But if we go into the menu settings, we're going to scroll down to image mode, go down to custom. Let's take brightness and go all the way up. And you can see here, we're just at 56. If you look here in the bottom corner where it says 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you can see that even if we go all the way up, we're just going to wash out the screen totally. We can't see any of the boxes below, say about 64, 65, even if we go all the way up. So if we just keep going down, and I'm going to say about 52, this does very well. I'm going to say this is on par with the Samsung LSP9T projector that I had done recently. So I mean, that's really good for this price point of this projector. Right now we've got local contrast on strong, so let's just bring that all the way down to off and see how that affects the picture quality. I'm going to say that really doesn't do much at all. It doesn't really affect anything. We're still getting the same amount of boxes flashing. So it doesn't look like the extra contrast enhancer is really anything detrimental right now as far as black level is concerned. But let's go ahead, bounce out of this and check out some peak highlight detail, which is under dynamic range high. So for this test, there's 2 rows of boxes. There's that first row, which is clearly visible, which shows all the way from 627 down to up to 674. Then the one below that is 675 over to 722. So as much detail as we can see on the second row of boxes, I'm going to say it stops at about 708, which is that box there. But if we just go into settings once again, go to contrast. So if we bump that up to 61, we're just clipping everything. I'm going to say about 52 again. Brightness 52, contrast 52, which gives us a pretty nice level of detail, highlight detail. And if we go to local contrast, see if that changes anything. That's on strong. That really doesn't do much either, so I'm just going to keep that on strong. And yeah, I mean, this is very bright. This is a super bright projector. We're still getting some pretty good highlight detail, and we get good shadow detail as well. You can even see the black level detail in that middle strip there, right in the center of the screen. So that's pretty solid for this projector. Once you're actually playing content, you can go ahead and tap the menu button, and then this will give you a few more options that weren't there from the home screen. Here you've still got the keystone correction, you've got clear apps. Under image mode, we have a few image mode presets. First one is movie, second one is football, next one is office, which kind of dims everything down, makes it a little bit warmer. We've got game mode, brightens everything up. And then last, we've got custom. Custom is everything that we just changed a little bit earlier with the black levels and the shadow detail and the highlight detail. So everything was at 52, 52. But out of the box, at default, all of these settings would be at 50 for brightness and contrast. But for sharpness, noise reduction, we've got a few settings for that. Color temperature, we've got warm. Custom lets you change the RGB levels. Standard, cold, and then back to warm. I think for me personally, warm looks more natural, a little bit easier on the eyes as well, especially for nighttime viewing. And then under advanced settings here, we've got local contrast, which is off, weak, medium, and then strong. And honestly, I can't really tell too much of a difference between any of these. So if we just go to strong and then off, I can see a very slight difference in black levels, but I don't see much difference at all between those two. So I'm just gonna go ahead and keep it on strong. And for HDR, you've got two options, which is auto, and then you've got off. So we're gonna keep that on auto, make sure we have HDR working properly. And then for motion compensation, if you want that soap opera effect, you've got weak, medium, and strong. Next option, you've got aspect ratio, you've got auto, 16:9, 4:3, and then the original size. And then you've got the sound settings. Got sound effect, you got a few presets here for movie, music, and sport. DTS studio sound on off. Volume balance, sound output. You can choose between internal speaker, optical out, or ARC if you're going to an AVR or processor. HDMI version, we've got HDMI 1.4 or 2.0. If you want 4K HDR to work properly, you're going to want to keep it on HDMI 2.0. This is the 3D video setup, and then all Android settings are under this setting here. Now just to check out the tone mapping, I just want to see how this handles like shadow detail and highlight detail. This is the movie Sully, which is pretty good. It's got Tom Hanks in it. But if you can keep your eyes on the fireball there, you can see that it's really bright. And you can also see there's different shades and gradations of oranges and yellows and reds in the fireball here. I'll put up a screenshot of the Sony $5,000 4K projector in comparison to this one, just so we can see the difference between the tone mapping, how this handles the highlight detail. In the Xgimi here, you can see the flames seem to be clipping a lot of detail out in this area right here. If we go under settings to see if we can kind of reclaim some of that detail back, if we drop that down to like 34, you can see how there's definitely more shades and tones and gradations inside that fireball. Unfortunately, the lower you go, the more that you're kind of making everything extra dark and you're losing shadow detail. So really 52 is kind of the best middle ground, I think. This two couple here, they're jackets. Even if we raise this, for higher we go, the more everything gets blown out. And then the lower we go, you don't really reclaim anything that much unless we change the brightness settings. We can try to change the temperature settings under custom. That's custom, and then that's warm. I mean, if you had proper measurement tools, you might be able to get something a little bit better than that, but I don't have the proper tools for that, so I mean, this is the best that you're gonna get out of the box. This is standard, cold, and then back to warm. I'm gonna say warm is the best. And just for comparison's sake, this is the Sony 4K native projector. This is the 325 ES, which is a $5,500 projector. It's not an apples to apple comparison, but just so you can see what the difference is when you're spending a lot more money. But again, like I said, as it is, for this price point for the Xgimi, pretty solid performer. The cool thing with this projector is that it does support 3D playback. So that's kind of a rarity nowadays. But if you are playing a 3D Blu-ray, you will have to go down into the menus, select 3D video setup, and it should start playing in top and bottom. So all you gotta do is click on 3D top and bottom. It'll switch over, and this is pretty much as good as it gets with these DLP projectors. It's a very bright image, and as far as I can tell with the glasses that I've got, the image depth and clarity is just as good as any other DLP projector that I've personally seen. And it's very crisp because it is a DLP. I didn't notice any crosstalk or anything like that. So if you are a 3D fan, then this could be kind of a make or break thing for you because this does support 3D and it's very good quality.
Gonna get one!
I don't know why it's so important to you.
I just feel like it would make me feel better. Oh no, it's a little Go check it out, what is
That
it?
is not a lion, it's a furry bird!
It looks like a lion!
It's not a lion. Let me get a closer look, excuse me. Oh, alright, let me see what we're dealing with here. It's a lion!
Wait, come on, wait! It's a little lion!
It gets bigger!
Can we keep... Oh, I promise, I'll walk him every day. If he makes a little mess, I'll clean it up!
You'll be his little mess. He's gonna eat you and then...
At the time of this video, the Xgimi Aura is selling for $24.99. Some things I think could be improved upon for the next version is maybe step up to the .66 DLP chip, which should make this an even sharper looking projector. The focus uniformity could use a bit of help, and a wider color spectrum could bring this even closer to projectors like the Sony and the Samsung. Another thing I should mention is if you are sensitive to the rainbow effect, you may see it on this projector, so keep that in mind. That being said, it's got some really nice colors, is super bright for daytime use, and is decent enough for casual gaming. If you don't have a sound system, the inbuilt speakers, I'd have to say, sound even better than the Samsung LSP9. It gets plenty loud and has a surprisingly robust amount of bass for a small projector. It's not too big, is super easy to set up, and has a good selection of apps that will support 4K and HDR. Android TV 10.0 is snappy, and you also have Google Chromecast. I really like how well made the projector is, and the fact that it isn't white is a huge positive. I think the Xgimi performed great and held its own against projectors costing more than twice its price. If you want something better, then be prepared to spend more than double. Plus, it's got support for 3D. Well, those are my thoughts on the Xgimi Aura Ultra Short Throw 4K projector. Have you guys gotten a chance to check one out, and if so, what'd you think of the performance? Leave a comment and let us know. Now, if you want to grab the Xgimi, I'll leave some links for it down below in the video's description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video if you found it useful, and subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you again in the next video.